Senators, and welcome back to Star Wars Democracy. We're going to be sharing our predictions for Ahsoka episode 6 tonight. It's crazy that it's already been a week since episode 5. To be honest with you, I haven't actually gone back and watched all of episode 5. Um, I've only went and seen bits and pieces, so I need to go do that. But episode 6 tonight, we're going to be talking about everything. Sorry, no stream yesterday. Kind of just got a little crazy. Figured we'd pawn it, kick it off till tonight, and we'll talk here for a little bit. Come out in just about 45 minutes, so we'll talk up until then, and then we'll break and go watch the episode, and we will be back tomorrow for a live reaction. Looks like Journeyman just hopped in. Let me go ahead and add him to the stream here. There we go. That's what I needed to do. Hello there, good sir.
How are you? Good.
Oh, nothing much. Well, just hanging in there, just trying to get a stream going. But yes, we're just a little late, but better late than never, or whatever the term phraseology is there.
Yeah, whatever it is.
So, and I noticed it's just been YouTube is just great. Last week I realized all the way through that my microphone that I talk into wasn't even hooked up the whole time, but it's fine. So hopefully the voice is a little bit more crisp tonight. So, but whatever. So have you gone back and watched any of episode 5? Well, I know that we've gone back and watched bits and pieces, or at least I have. I guess I know you have too, because we did it together. But have you gone back and watched the whole episode? You did?
Not the whole episode. I still went back and
Not the whole. Okay.
Yeah, so I didn't watch the whole episode. I went back and I still watched the Anakin and Ahsoka stuff, just because I really like. We talked about it, and I had troubles, and I still like it, and I do. I just still had to go back and revel in it, and just be like, what did we watch? What did I actually maybe take a new perspective on it, and what it was, and kind of
take a step back and just kind of
and basically trying to get ready for this episode, what we're gonna see. But at least predicting and whatnot. But yeah, that episode's still just great. I'm so glad that Hayden did it. I'm so glad that they brought him in. It's a perfect show for him.
So, I mean, we're all senators of the channel here, and I mean, I'm obviously not gonna lie. I still give the episode a 10 out of 10. Granted, I haven't actually gone back and watched it all the way through again. I just feel like I don't know. I feel like life's just been kind of busy lately, which is probably most of it. But the thing about that episode, and I don't want to talk about it like I'm talking negatively about it necessarily, but I guess I just would have thought that it would have kind of propelled me a little bit to want to kick out more videos, want to talk about more things, and it did. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know. Do you find yourself kind of
it was
not being as excited as you thought you were going to be? And I don't know. Maybe it's like I said, life's a little busy right now for me, so that's probably most of it. But I didn't know if you felt that same way at all.
When I didn't understand the lesson, I'm like, yes, this, and even still now, the lesson helps that it makes it better. But I kind of agree with you that it felt like it should have been this propelling of hype or whatever for this episode. Because the episode's good, but it didn't really show us or teach us really anything, I guess, other than or for the next episode. It showed us a lot for what we got from it, but for the next few episodes, we really have no clue what we're getting ourselves into here. So
well, and in some ways, I mean, what's crazy about that episode? That's why I'm kind of okay, am I the is what I'm experiencing like just kind of like a fluke, because it's like we literally got Anakin Skywalker meeting Ahsoka. We literally
Mhm.
got the White, which I always say this, but for anyone who's been a senator of the channel for a long time knows I've been extremely excited. Like I've speculated a ton about it and what it could
Mhm.
mean. We got like I got everything that I wanted, and I'm just like, like I haven't really been making videos. Again, I'm just kind of busy right now. But I'm hoping that this episode, like, and part of me, I tell myself like it's not that I'm not excited for this episode. And
Mhm.
what's really cool, like you just said, like, yeah, we don't know what to expect, but that's cool because there's only I think the only scene we have left in the trailers is the Thrawn, which if you can't tell by the thumbnail, I don't know if you saw it, like
I did see it,
we're
yeah.
expecting Thrawn to probably be in the episode. And
Which
so
that's what I was
that's
hoping.
cool. Like there's and then you have Ahsoka the White, and it's like, who is Ahsoka the White? Is she more powerful? Like what? And then I'm just gonna put it up. I'm just gonna put it
Mhm.
up. But we just because there are certain leaks and rumors out there, so we'll just put the spoiler warning up. We definitely could
Mhm.
see some Ezra Bridger tonight. Which I don't know. Did you watch Josh at all?
I haven't watched anyone.
So the theory is the speculation rumors out there, not even rumors, this is more so speculation, is that we won't see Ahsoka very much in tonight's episode. It's
Which
mainly going to be centered around, drum roll please,
Ezra and Thrawn?
Ezra, which I think will be really interesting.
Which I think is perfect because we've been wondering, like, we've been focusing on a lot on Ahsoka. It is her story. And yes, some people might get mad at that, just like Book of Boba Fett. However, we understand that this is Dave writing it and directing it. So, or like,
Mhm. Well, that's
not
the
really
thing.
directing
They're
it,
saying
but
they're gonna book a Boba Fett her in this episode and basically kick her to the side and let it be about someone else. And I'm like, dude, whatever. Like,
my question is, like, how are we supposed to not get caught up? Like, this is supposed to be Ahsoka's story, and I don't. And to those fans that don't like Book of Boba Fett, I'm one of them. So I'm speaking to the choir here. So like, I understand what they're going to get mad at, but
mhm,
my question is, like, I am tired of stories just doing like name dropping certain places or certain things. Like before we got the Clone Wars, right? It was just the Clone Wars began. We had no clue what that looked like. We had no clue what that, you know, looked like or felt like or anything.
sure, sure.
It was just a name drop. And I'm like, that's cool. But what if we actually saw it? And I think Dave's doing the approach, and I think rightly, if done correctly, is like the question is, what has Ezra been doing this whole time? And I think we'll get a snippet. I'm not saying we're getting the whole thing, but at least it draws us into this story of like what he and Thrawn have probably been doing on this other galaxy and been
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, we've just been here doing this thing. And it's like, okay, I kind of want to see that though. Like I
Yeah.
don't want you to just show like tell me a thing. I want you to show me it. And if you can give me at least a snippet, maybe you go back and do a show on that if it's really interesting. But if
Mhm.
not, like at least show us what you've been doing. I'd rather see
And
that than anything.
and that's a really good point too. Like just again talking about the things that are happening in I'm just I don't know, but a new galaxy. Like we've been talking about it for weeks now. We're gonna see it probably tonight. I mean, all roads suggest, regardless of the leaks and rumors that are out there. I mean, Ahsoka's headed in that direction. Sabine is already there, or we suppose all the Balin, all of them are already there. Like we're gonna see a
Mhm.
whole new galaxy in stars, and which okay, now I'm starting to get more excited because it's like this galaxy has major implications for the stories that we're going to be hearing about in the future
Yep.
and what it means for the sequel trilogy. And I don't want to be the guy to bring it up, but according to the leaks and the rumors that are out there, they're
Okay.
saying that episode 6 is going to be good. Like it's not going to be a bad episode, it's going to be good, but supposedly 7 and 8 are even better.
Ooh,
And I
okay.
want to say, don't quote me on this, but I believe it was Star Wars Meg was saying that we're going to get some interesting tie-ins and connections with the sequel trilogy. Not
which I
so
know people
much,
won't like. Yeah.
which people will not like, but and it's not so much like I don't not necessarily like characters maybe, but I think what they were saying, Star Wars Meg was saying, was we're going to get some explanation behind why some of the things happened the way that they did, which is what the sequel trilogy needs. And it doesn't
Yes.
need to be done by anybody except Dave Filoni.
Okay. Yes, because I don't
So,
trust anyone else doing.
right. So, Ahsoka the White, potentially more Anakin. I mean, there's still lines from trailers that Hayden
Yeah.
said that are nowhere else in anywhere Star Wars I'm aware of. So we could be expecting more Hayden at some point, even if it's just his voice. So Ahsoka, potentially Hayden. We're expecting Thrawn. We're expecting this new galaxy, Ahsoka the White. Like I said, like there are plenty of things to be excited about. And I think I just need to take a little I got to vent for a second. YouTube is a tough game. Like but by the time you get a script ready to go, you edit the script, you record the audio, you edit the audio, you edit the video, you throw in all the stuff. It is a process. And I mean, for someone who has a full time job, like it's hard to kick those videos out. But I'm hoping after tonight's episode, I've kind of taken a step back from some videos. And yeah, I want to do some more videos. And I think there'll be plenty of videos to be done. I mean, we're talking,
Hmm.
one of the earliest rumors was Ezra Bridger doing Force karate. I mean, and that's the thing. Like this new galaxy, are we going to see new aspects of the Force, like the Force utilized in different ways? Like that can all be happening tonight. Like let's get excited,
Yeah.
people.
Yeah. We're
So
gonna see new planets, new,
new
uh,
planets.
hopefully new
Which,
abilities.
by the
Like,
way, I have a question about the new planets thing. So we're going to do like I would get it if we like were expecting to go to a planet, but we're going to a new galaxy.
yeah.
How the heck do you think they're like? This is my kind of like a fear, I guess I have. How the heck are they going to explain the fact that okay, Ahsoka just arrives on a space whale, and then is Ezra just going to be right there on wherever she ends up? Like they're going to a new galaxy. How are they
Yeah.
going to find him? And I just like I hope it's not because I heard Josh from the Dinner Nerds even saying this. It's like it's probably going to be something where like Ezra's just there and like Ahsoka just shows up, and it's like, does that make the Star Wars universe feel too small, or like I don't know? What's your how do you think they're going to explain that? Because I do got some concerns on that. It's like, is it really as easy as just hopping on a space whale and then finding Ezra? Like they're
I
going to a
mean, let.
new galaxy,
I mean,
one that
let's.
she has no experience in.
I mean, let's be real here, though. Didn't the sequels do this exact same thing? Like, we saw that Kylo sequence with him on Mustafar, right?
Yes.
And did it ever explain in the crawl or anything like, oh yeah, how did he know where this is at all?
Well, he had the Sith Wayfinder. That's
He
how
did.
he found the Sith Wayfinder. I believe it was on Mustafar, and the Wayfinder helped him find his way to Exegol. So I get that to an extent. I do get
So
that.
it's basically like the Ahsoka thing, what we saw within the first sequence. Like she's going to get this space ball thing to find Ezra. So that's literally what they're kind of doing.
Basically, in a sense.
So in that sense, I don't like yes, I think it shrinks the world and it will feel like it's a small world, but
The only
you
thing I
only
can think of is Ezra like because you based off the whales, the Purgle, it would seem
hmm
that they travel from Cetos to probably another planet. Like I don't think there's probably going to be a lot of like they
yeah,
probably go back and forth. And so
yeah,
the only thing I can think of is like maybe they just Ezra like knew like if someone's going to find me, it's
hmm
going to be by means of the Purgle because that's what I left on. So I'm going to
yeah.
stay on this planet until someone finds me.
Well, yeah, and it's like being lost out at sea if you think about it. Like you try and stay at least on what you have and try and get to an area that you can stay at so people can
Yeah,
find you.
yeah.
So, I mean,
Wave the white
sp-
flag.
yeah,
Everyone. smoke signals or something.
Speaking of the Purgle, though, I don't know if you saw this theory that's out there for timeline-wise purpose.
Timeline,
So
I don't know.
so and then maybe I'm wrong on this and you can help me.
Hmm.
But when we see the Purgle in Mando season 3, right?
Yes.
And baby Grogu holds out his hand like he's trying to reach for someone
Yes. Yes.
like Luke. If we're going by timeline, she has already met Luke at that point in season is it 3 or 2?
So I know where you're going with this, and I posted my recent video, and I know we talked about it last week. Apparently, the official Star Wars timeline has confirmed that the Book of Boba Fett takes place before the Ahsoka show, and
Okay.
the Ahsoka show takes place around, if not adjacent to, the events of the Mandalorian season 3. So you're referring to when you see Grogu see the Purgle in hyperspace.
Yes,
He
and
sensed Ahsoka.
yes.
Yes, that yeah, I've seen that theory, and it's plausible because yes, it seemed that the Mandalorian takes place around the same time.
Because he did the same thing with Luke, and after I saw that theory, I'm like, that makes sense though. Like the only people he's really reached out for are Ahsoka and for Luke, and not really Ahsoka, but like he's reached out and like felt that
Yeah,
presence.
people he can sense in the Force. Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah,
sorry,
yeah. So
I
definitely
had to bring it up.
possible based off of the timeline. Yeah, no, I mean it would be cool. I think it's one of those things where it'll never be explained, but it's just kind of like if you know type of thing.
Yeah, yeah. It's kind of like the
So
it's kind of like the Boba Fett thing, or what we were thinking at the beginning. Like we see his boots or whatever, even though they explain it. But
yeah, they went on to explain that one, but it's like yeah, it's kind of like if you want it to be that, then you can make it that, but it doesn't have to be that if you don't want it to, which is
once
something
again,
very Dave Filoni. So
yeah, once again, Dave.
yeah, which I love. Like I think that's a great part of Star Wars is getting to make of things how you want them to be. But speaking of that, so that's kind of goes along the lines of like I feel like what everybody's been talking with about the whole episode 5 Anakin's lesson. Like I feel like everybody
Mm.
kind of takes something different away from that. Was Ahsoka really dead? Was it really Anakin? Et cetera, et cetera. So do you think and I was it you and I who were talking about this? I think it was the other day, off stream,
Maybe.
obviously, but like were we talking about like Morai and hoping that Dave goes more into detail about Morai and the connection to the daughter? So we're 5 episodes in at this point. Do you think that that's something that's actually going to happen? Like, is he going to dive deep into that lore of like the daughter and the Mortis gods and Ahsoka's connection, or do you think that's just going to be something that he'll never ever go to explain into depth, especially in live action, and it's just going to be left kind of open ended?
Mm, I want him to explain it, but then once again, we have he the master of giving us open endings of like our interpretation of things.
Yeah.
I feel like I feel like if they're gonna go down that road, then they have to explain. We get Anakin back again, so we'll have if he's gonna go down this road, he's gonna have to explain the whole father son daughter connection and like really explain it in terms.
Mm-hmm.
Because the other thing I saw was that, and it's funny that we're getting into this now, but the other thing I saw was like Palpatine Anakin wanted to be able to help people come back from death,
Yes.
right? And so if we're assuming that she is in the process of dying or she is dead, it's funny that he finally possesses the power to help Ahsoka come back from that. And that's
No,
what
you
the
don't.
other thing
You don't mean it's funny. You mean it's ironic.
ironic, yes. But it's funny that the thing that he's wanted has always been within his grasp.
Hmm.
he finally has the realization of how that's achieved, which
Yeah,
is he had to be on the light side first, but then if we're going with the theory, is he had to actually take over the father's position.
yeah, yeah. And still to this day, this is probably the next video I'm actually going to make, unless something wild happens in
Yeah,
episode 6. But I don't believe that he took the place of the. I believe that he took the place as the chosen one, the one who will balance the force. I don't actually believe that he became the father, and I don't actually
yeah,
believe that Ahsoka is the daughter, which means we don't have to have the son
yeah.
necessarily. Um,
It's just
because
metaphorically,
just as
but yeah,
it's a metaphor for the arc, although they were real beings. Dave Filoni has clarified that in interviews that the Mortis gods were real. It was not some figment of their imagination as a means to be a metaphor. It was a
yeah,
metaphor, and they were real beings.
yes,
And so, and it revealed who Anakin was supposed to be. To me, it was kind of like a almost like a baptism for Anakin, or like Anakin like was confirmed at that moment. It was confirmed for him, although he doesn't remember it because everyone's minds were wiped. It was
hmm,
confirmed that he was the chosen one. Because
yes,
even Qui-Gon in the arc is like, "Do you believe that you're the chosen one?" And I don't. It's like he had to accept it for himself and
right,
see it for himself to be able to be confirmed. And then we go from there. And then we also see Ahsoka's connection. So, yes,
yeah,
was it a metaphor? Yeah, but it also had very huge, big implications for both of those characters. And yeah, I think it's great how Dave does that. But I'm wondering how important is it for Ahsoka's character, who's now this Ahsoka the White? How important is it for us to explain her connection to the daughter? Because they've always said, and I go, but this is kind of a fun talking point too. They've always
hmm,
said you don't have to have seen Rebels or the Clone Wars to understand this show. I have to be the first one to say that I completely disagree with that statement.
yes,
I personally feel like if you not have not at least been exposed to the ideas and kind of the major events of both of those series, like I'm sorry, I truthfully, I don't necessarily feel that they did a fantastic job of explaining Anakin's connection to Ahsoka. Like, you could piece the like if I've never seen the Clone Wars or Rebels, I can piece things together. She's like, Anakin never got to finish my training. But it's like, even at that moment, if you've never seen the Clone Wars or Rebels, it's like, whoa, Anakin had a Padawan? Like, you know what I
well, and
mean?
that's the thing is uh, they said you never or you don't have to watch those shows, but I'm like, you at least gotta watch like the first episode to understand Ahsoka, like at least to start to understand her. And like, how did Anakin have a Padawan? That like it's got to be like a short thing, but you're watching episodes. That's like
Right,
telling. That's like trying to explain
right.
anything to a 12-year-old or a 6-year-old and be like, now
Hmm.
do this really hard thing that you don't understand. And it's kind of like you at least want a little bit of knowledge. I'm not saying you got to understand the whole thing and like understand every little detail. I'm just saying you got to get a baseline for what it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree. I disagree. I I agree with you. I disagree with what they were saying about
Yeah.
not having to see the Clone Wars and Rebels. I don't agree with that. But it also tracks because they always say things. It's not just like it's the Dave and John stuff. Like even the Book of Boba Fett was supposed to be all killer or all thriller. Wait, all killer, all thriller, no filler, or something like that. And it's like, no,
Yeah.
the whole show
Something.
was filler.
Yeah.
So I don't really trust anybody's opinions now. Like, I feel like after the Ahsoka show, you just have to go, even despite what the leaks say, despite what the rumors are, despite what the actors and actresses and the directors and writers are saying, you have to experience it for yourself and let Star
Yes.
Wars speak to you how it speaks to you, because that's how Star Wars works. There is no
Yeah.
one size fits all necessarily. Although,
No.
granted, I would say like Ahsoka is pretty close to like Ahsoka is nearing that level of perfection of Star Wars that everybody can get behind it on some level,
It
in my
feels
opinion. It
yes,
feels
but
like Star Wars.
it feels like it. I know it's gonna make people mad. It feels like George's Star Wars, and that's
Mhm.
who created it. So we're going to give props to the creator of Star Wars here for putting a person in for putting a who had the guts to put a person that he never knew in charge, and that was Dave Filoni, and bringing him up as his own apprentice under
Mhm.
him. Like he hired a perfect person for what he has now.
Yeah, 1000%. 1000%. So, Senator SB, thank you for being here. SB says he is the chosen one, referring to Anakin, obviously, no matter what Disney says and tries to make Rey to be. So, I think that's the great thing. And I don't know how long you've been here, SB, but we were just talking about the new galaxy and like how big of an episode this actually is. Like, okay, maybe nothing big happens. I'm not saying there won't be anything big, but regardless, like we're expecting to go to a literally a new galaxy in Star Wars. We could see new species. I mean, I think the coolest thing about this all is setting up some big alien species like the Grisk from the Thrawn novels. I mean, that's kind of where we're expecting this to go. Um, like there is some fantastic story points that could be drawn from this, and considering the fact my theory is that Ahsoka will stay in this new galaxy, and that's why we don't see her in the sequel trilogy. And
Mhm.
again, not only does that help explain some things for the sequel trilogy, but it also tells us, hey, while all this crap is going over on in this galaxy, turn your attention this way and let's tell some stories and that's happening in this galaxy.
Mhm.
Because just like there's a entire timeline that we've been exploring for the galaxy that we've been in. Now you can take that same amount of time,
And
pivot over
energy. Yeah.
here, and tell the same exact, who were there Jedi, were there Sith, what are the Force users, where are the Night Sisters, et cetera, et cetera. So, um, I don't think you have to worry about anything, SP. You're in good hands with Dave Filoni, and Dave we trust.
So
So,
my question to you is, do you think we're like since it's supposed to be mainly on Ezra, or that's what the leaks are, or whatever? We're getting a lot of Thrawn tonight, right? Or is it, or are we getting like a like Hayden type stuff, like a little cameo, and then the episode ends?
well, I'll throw on the spoiler warning thing again, just so people know. But from what I remember from the rumors and the leaks, it's not clear exactly how much we're going to be seeing Thrawn. I do think my understanding is we could potentially see a lot of Ezra, and Ezra is going to be interacting with lobster people,
Okay.
and you're going to see the new character Captain Enoch, who is supposedly Thrawn's bodyguard or something, has like a gold faceplate or something.
Interesting.
Um, but yeah, you're gonna see lobster people. That's the planet Ezra is on, and we could see some Loth wolves in this one.
Okay.
Which would be interesting considering we're on a completely different in a completely new galaxy. But that's just what they say. What else?
I will say though, with the Lothwolf, they in the final few few episodes, they black out. Remember, like Ezra and Hera and
Mm-hmm.
the Ghost Crew black out, and they're still on the same planet or whatever, but they're
Yeah,
on a different part. So I
yeah.
mean, if you want to contribute that to hey, going from Lothal to just a new galaxy, like it is the Force and cosmically.
And you actually raise a good point because the this is not necessarily a rumor for this episode, but a long-standing rumor. I remember making a short about it. You can actually still go find that short. Um, a long-standing rumor for months and months now has been that Ahsoka will ride a Loth Wolf at some point in this show. So you raise a really good point. It's like, okay, so Ezra ends up on this planet, potentially does have Loth wolves, which, considering Ezra's there, would make sense. Like, if Dave plays this right, it would almost make it seem like Ezra knew what his destiny and his future
His
was
goal
going to
was,
be.
yeah,
It was to call in the Purgle, which he does. He doesn't tell anybody what he's doing, but it's like
no,
he knew where he was going because he has that connection to Kanan and the Loth wolves.
hmm
And so it could be that he ends up on this planet and he does stay on this planet, and he could be halfway around the planet, and Ahsoka shows up, comes into contact with maybe the lobster people or a Loth wolf, and feels that connection to Ezra, or even the connection to Kanan. Wouldn't that be really cool if Kanan is the one
yeah,
who talks to Ahsoka? And like you said, hops on the Loth wolf, like we've been hearing about, and the Loth wolf literally takes her to Ahsoka.
yeah,
That would
that'd
be
be
cool.
really cool.
I
Yeah,
think that would make sense. I'd be happy with that. But again, my concern is like, okay, we're literally going to a new galaxy. He could, I mean, I guess he doesn't have a ship, so he probably would stay on the planet wherever he ended up. But then again, it's like we're literally going to a completely new galaxy. Like,
like
assuming he
we
did
don't
have a
know
ship,
what we're seeing. Yeah,
he could have gone anywhere. Not to mention, we're supposed to get the undead stormtroopers, Thrawn's army of like Night Sister possessed. Like, there's some wild things that are going to be happening in this
it's gonna be
galaxy.
weird.
It's going to be weird, but I guess that's kind of what we've been asking for, something new and fresh. So
Yes,
that's what we're getting.
which is good. But so I know I want to focus really on Thrawn because I hope we get him tonight.
Sure.
Do you? So he does the voice for Thrawn, right? Lars
Yes, Lars Mikkelsen.
Mikkels. Do you think he's gonna try and do the actual Thrawn voice, or is it kind of gonna be a different like tone or tenor?
I definitely think he's going to try, but I'm keeping those low expectations.
No,
Nothing
I
is.
know.
It's probably not going to be the same, but yes, I think it will sound like Thrawn. But
Okay.
can I say something? Like, also,
Yeah.
this might be uh, slightly controversial in the Star Wars fandoms. Have you
hmm
ever like? I know Thrawn's backstory. I know his background. I know that he's very methodical. Really, like, just reading the first couple chapters of the book, he really
hmm
matches up to Palpatine in terms of his level of thought, how he manipulates things to work in his favor, that kind of
Yes.
thing. So I know that he's a capable villain, but have you ever
hmm
found him to be that like menacing? Like, have you ever found him to be like, oh, Thrawn's showing up, like it's about to get really bad? Because like, what threat does he actually pose besides being like a Grand Admiral, like a master of war?
Well, there was a TikTok or whatever Instagram Shorts, or it was like this was his explanation, I think. But he's like, the greatest weapon is the mind. It's not anything to do with force, or that's his view on things. Like
Sure,
his greatest weapon is his mind. So
sure.
in that way, it's kind of like if you kind of think about it, take away Obi-Wan's lightsaber and take away the force, and that's kind of what Obi-Wan is. Like he's a negotiator. He's a tactician in that
Hmm.
way of like thinking about stuff. So that's the way I view him as. It's kind of like a an Obi-Wan without any of the cool stuff, I guess. But like
Sure.
he's essentially he is a general. Like, but to your question specifically, no. Like I've never viewed him as like a Palpatine or a Vader, where we get that what we got in last episode, where you get the flash of Vader, and it's like, oh
Hmm.
yeah, now I remember this guy. Like it every time he shows up, like even as Anakin, like you realize like that is who he becomes. So it's a lot more menacing. I've never
Hmm.
viewed Thrawn, although he's a tactician. I've never viewed him as a really big threat. I guess.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, and it makes you wonder, like, is he going to be the big bad of everything? Is he a Thanos level threat? And based off his mind and his in like the warfare part, I would say yes. But put him up against Ahsoka, and it's like in terms of combat. Like,
Yeah, but then again,
I guess
he's
Morgan
trying.
Elsbeth, I mean, could
Yeah,
wield it. I mean, they'll make it work, but it's just
yeah,
like I want to see Thrawn, like just Thrawn alone. Yes, he has the red eyes, the blue face, the Grand
yeah.
Admiral, but it's like I don't see, like, to me he's never appeared very like menacing.
Yeah, but at least from what we know, and I haven't read the books or anything, but from what I understand, it's really with all within his mind just from Rebels. Like
Right,
he's playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers,
right,
or he's playing 4D chess and everyone's trying to play 3D chess. Like
yeah,
it's another level of just intelligence that no one can seem to grasp. And other than Ezra, who got the best of him at the end of Rebels, finally cracked something,
hmm
maybe a knowledge there, but like I think he's been learning. I think Ezra was learning from Thrawn all along, and he finally just played his cards correctly this time
sure.
because it always just seemed to fail, 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 and then finally at the end he figured out a way to do it. But
Well, and it makes me think too that they'll probably have to find a way to sadly recast Ray Stevenson, because as I'm thinking about, I'm just like, there has to be some level of threat that will compare to like Ahsoka and Ezra in terms of lightsaber combat and like that lightsaber to lightsaber type of
combat,
the thing
yeah,
that we see that Star Wars fans love. Like Thrawn doesn't really, from what we've seen, does not really like achieve that for us. And I feel like Balin and Shin are so interesting. We haven't learned enough about them where I feel like the intention was to always include them moving forward. That way they could
hmm
always be that level of, okay, you want to
yeah,
see a good lightsaber fight? Here's
mm,
Balin and Ahsoka.
mm,
Have
yeah,
at it.
yeah,
So, I mean, because he literally defeats her. So, I
yeah.
mean, he obviously poses a threat. So, we'll see where it goes and what happens. But it makes me think that they'll keep them around for a
Well,
while.
and you have to go down the hierarchy, right? So just like with Jedi, then what we kind of learned with Destiny and Ahsoka's legacy, like
hmm
connection to Anakin, a connection to Obi-Wan, connection to all the Jedi that have, been there. But like the same way has to be done for the Sith. So like how we view it, it goes Palpatine, and then it goes what is his apprentices? It was Maul, it's Vader,
Dooku, Grievous,
Dooku, Grievous, like
indirectly.
indirectly, but like you have to go down that lineage of like where does where does he go? And I agree with you. I think those are the two most interesting characters, and I feel like if they try and I'm not sure how they draw a connection to the Jedi, but other than that,
Yes.
we have no connection to what they have known, other
Nope.
than
Other than he
oh yeah,
survived Order 66. So,
and that he knows of Anakin.
yes, Anakin spoke highly of you.
And so, from what that connection, it seems like a perfect fit for him. But
Yeah.
you know, we don't know too much
Yeah.
about him.
So, with that, I think we'll probably keep it kind of a shorter stream, going on about 40 minutes here. We got 5 minutes until the episode actually drops. So, what do you say? We go ahead and motion to adjourn, and we'll be back. Well, are you going to be able to come back tomorrow, or what are you thinking
Uh,
on that? We'll have the
de-
reaction stream regardless. So,
yeah, depending on what time we choose.
depending.
But
Okay.
yeah, I
So,
I should be around, but we'll
okay.
see.
Sounds like a plan. We'll go ahead and motion to adjourn, everyone. Go watch the episode. Let me know what you think. Follow me on Twitter if you haven't already, or X or whatever the app is called now. And I'll uh, I'll post my thoughts on there, and then we'll reconvene. Get the senators back tomorrow so that we could talk about the episode. So have fun. Go watch it. May the force be with you always.